Fam, thank you for choosing to watch this episode of Mind the Mic podcast. Before we get into it, though, I need you to hit subscribe. And not just me, the whole Mind the Mic podcast family needs you to. Maddie, Uncle Pete, Stu, Lekka, and of course myself, Shubz, and anybody else that's on board by the time you watch this video, we need you to hit subscribe. If it's your first time here, I understand if you're a bit reserved and you're like, I don't know, watch the video and after subscribe if you want to. But if you're here and you're watching all the time, subscribe. It's not that hard. All you got to do is, if you're watching on your TV, you're like, I can't subscribe, I don't have an account. You have a phone, don't you? I know you have a phone in your hand right now. Grab the phone, create a YouTube account. It takes a couple minutes, and then you can subscribe. And when you do that too, hit the notification bell so you can get notified every time we put up a new episode. I asked this of you because we put in so much time. We've done hundreds of episodes. We plan on doing thousands more with as many amazing people as we can. But we need you to subscribe, fam. Big love to everybody that's been watching. Big love to everybody that's been supporting and anybody that's just arrived. I hope you enjoy the journey, enjoy the episode, and subscribe. Hey, welcome back to another Mind the Mic podcast. I'm your host, Shubz, here with a special guest in the building, someone I've seen buzzing around Instagram and even YouTube. I've seen a few YouTube of the man that's sitting with us. He's a businessman, an entrepreneur. He's been doing ads and stuff since he was like 15 on the interwebs. So he's the man you want to speak to, my man, Kim Barrett. What's good, brother? How are you?
Doing well, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Nah, appreciate you, cuz. Grateful. Grateful for the opportunity. Just for anybody that doesn't know who you are, can you give us a little synopsis on yourself?
Yeah, so as I said, you said my name's Kim. I've been specializing in ads for 18 odd years now. Has kind of been my jam, and it's been like helping businesses grow. Really is what we like to focus on, and ads is our chosen way to do it. We a lot of the times people come to us and they think like they just need more leads to grow their business or more marketing, but a lot of times it's not the case. So we like to take a pretty I call it scientific, but it's just a logical approach and just be like, well, what's the actual thing that the business needs? And that's what we try and help them with. A lot of times it is ads, sometimes it's sales, sometimes it's delivery, but we like to just see how we can help them and help their businesses grow.
No, beautiful, brother. Love it. What was life like though for a young Kim? Like, if you can take us way back, like where were you born in there?
Yeah, so born and raised in Perth, Australia. Pretty much always been here. I've done a lot of travel, but I think like most people, even though when I started learning about ads and helping businesses with that, I was still going to school. I still, was told, go to university. That's going to be the way to go about it. So I went to school, studied, was called the TEE back then, did that, went to university. So I thought that's how you get a good job. I didn't really think, you could make money on the internet for yourself at that easily back then. So I was like, all right, go to university. And obviously, again, what they don't tell you is like when you go and graduate, 1,000, 2,000 people graduate at the same time with the same degree. So unless you're someone who's becoming like a doctor or a lawyer where you have to go and, get that studies in, when I came out, it was pretty hard to get a job. It wasn't easy. I would say like it was, everyone's like, what's your experience? And it's like, oh, cool. I went to university and did this. And then they're like, oh, but what's your experience? And I was like, well,
what have you done?
Yeah. I'm like, you said you had to go to university to get a role here. Now you're telling me I need experience. Like, how do I get experience without you giving me a job? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I tried a few different things and worked at a few different companies, but it just it didn't excite me. It was just like kind of cruising along, and I was like, did the job, did a good job of it. But for me, I started like just, I was like, oh, I can't see what the next level of progression is or where I'm going to get to from here. So I ended up going to a bunch of like business events, personal development events, trying to figure out what was going to be like the next best thing. And I met a guy who was just started doing business events in Perth and did all of his courses and did some personal development stuff with him, NLP and coaching and stuff. And I was like, all right. And he's like, I want to go to Melbourne. And I was like, how are you going to get clients in Melbourne? And he's like, I don't know. I'm going to go over there, try and get some contacts. And I was like, well, what if we run ads and you do events kind of like what you did here? And he's like, do you know how to do that? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I hadn't done it for events before, but I'd run ads, played around with different bits and pieces, did some affiliate marketing and stuff like that. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I can get people to go to your event. Did it, launched some ads, and people started coming to these events, and then started getting better and better and learning more and more and more as I had the ability to spend more money on ads and start to grow it and improve it. And then at the end of that year, he's like, do you want to come and work full time with me, speaking, training, doing the coaching side, or do you want to focus on your ads business? And I was like, I think I want to do my ads business. And so that's when I went hard into that world and started figuring out, how do I get clients? How do I service clients? How do I, make sure that they get good results? And, that was like now nearly 10 years ago.
Wow. And now look at you, eh? 10 years ago. You said ads, though. Like, ads is obviously a big passion of yours. Were you 15 when you did your first sort of?
Yeah, so back then, the first time I figured out about how to make things kind of work online, back in the day before Facebook, everyone would go to a forum. It was forums where all the information was, and you go, and that's where you went to search stuff, ask questions. So my dad and I used to have aquarium fish, and we used to breed and sell them and trade them all around Australia. So it's like a $1 billion industry kind of all over the world. And we jumped into it, and we were just doing it for fun. And I was answering a lot of questions on there. And those forums back in the days, if you were getting lots of traffic, and they were getting pretty decent amount of people go to their forums, because there's only a handful in Australia where you could go to learn this stuff. And what they were telling me was we need money to pay for the servers. It's not like now where, it's pretty easy to launch a website, have a host it, it's all cheap now in comparison to what it used to be like. So they said to me, we need to raise a bunch of money. We need to get as much money as we can. And I was like, all right, how much do we need for the year? And they're like, to cover all the expenses, keep it going, and be able to continue, we need to raise about $40,000 worth of either sponsorships in cash, or they would donate products and we could raffle it off or whatever it would be. So I was all right. And again, I'm 15, so I don't really know too much of these things. And I was like, why would people give us money? Why would they pay for sponsorship? And they're like, well, we have a website, we have a banner at the top of our website, and we have 10 spots on that banner. Now, obviously, if they can put their business up there, put their logo up there, and we have people come to our website looking for fish stuff, if they want to buy stuff, they might go and click on their banner and purchase from them. And I was, all right, that makes sense. So they showed me the back end of the website where it had all the stats of how much and how many people were coming and things. So I took a screenshot of that and put it into Microsoft Paint or something like that back in the day.
What did you screenshot of back then? How did you take a screenshot?
There was some tool that you had to download and embed into Microsoft Paint. So it it captured the entire screen, and then I had to put it in Microsoft Paint to cut the border out and cut all the other stuff out so that it just looked like that main part. So it was, I think it was just print screen on the old school, computer was the button or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I took that and I just wrote an email. So I went through and I was all right, went on to Google or, Yahoo, Ask Jeeves, whatever it was back then. And I was like, Fish Products Australia, Online Fish Shops Australia. And just put together a list of all the different shops and stuff that was there. Just went to their contact page, found their email. And then I just went into I think it was Hotmail or whatever it was back in the day. And I was like, all right, let's write it. I'll write an email. So I put them all in BCC. So I send an email to myself. And I was pretty straightforward. I was like, hi, my name's Kim. I'm from this forum. We have spots available on our website for sponsorship. My subject line was sponsorships available. And I was like, we have 10 spots. We currently have 2 sponsors. We need about 8 more. I'm sending this email out to 45 different companies around Australia. What we're looking for is someone to take those last 8 spots. What we need is either this amount of cash, or we need this amount of products throughout the year that we can raffle off, sell, to be able to raise money to cover the cost of the forum. Here is a screenshot. Here's a screen grab of our current statistics. Every month we're growing, we're improving, more people are coming. If you'd like to take part in this, here's a link to PayPal. You can send us the money for the spot to secure it, or respond back to the admin of the forum and let them know what products you'd be able to do in kind. What would you be able to kind of give us to be able to raffle off or whatever. sent that out, went to bed. This is like 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night or something. The next morning I woke up, and before school, back then again, it was like, MSN Messenger was the spot where you like check everything. So I was like, all right, let's see, what's going on. Log in there, and they're like, Kim, what did you do last night? And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I didn't really think about it. I was like, did something bad happen? Like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, we've got a whole heap of sales in our PayPal account. We've got all these emails coming in saying they want to send us these products. What did you do? And I was like, I just emailed them. I just sent an email, and like we ended up getting like about 40 grand's worth of sponsorship, products, services, cash. And we pretty much to that one email covered all of the expenses for the next year for the forum and beyond. And I didn't know I was using like marketing strategies and like scarcity.
But you just you just did it yourself, just what you thought.
I was legit. I was like, I'm sending an email to 45 people. I was like, I'm just going to tell them what we're doing. I'm like, I'm sending this to all these people. We only have 8 spots available. This is what we have. This is what we need. And it worked. And I was like, oh, people like, they're willing to pay for stuff on the internet. I didn't really click for me at the time. And I was like, that was the first time I'd done any form of marketing. And I was like, this is really good. And I was like, do I get any of that, 40,000? They're like,
no, that's not how it works, buddy. Yeah. But where does that come from, Kim? Like that mentality or that understanding, that strategy? Where did all that, was that innate in you, do you believe? Or
I just always like had a thought that I wanted to be into business. And I understand like, supply and demand and that sort of stuff. Like I understood the basics. Like when I was younger, rightly or wrongly back in the day, like everyone loved Pokemon, and I found an emulator online because I was like, I want to play like, the Pokemon games on my computer. But you could only play it on Game Boy at the time. Yeah. That was the only way to do it. So I found this website that had an emulator, which was basically made it look like a Game Boy on your computer, and then downloaded like Pokemon Red, Gold, like all blue, all the different Pokemon games. Ones. Yeah. And then I was like, well, if I want it, surely other people. I was like 11 years old at primary school. Like surely everyone else wants it as well, right? So I went there and I was like selling floppy disks, like the old school like 3.5, and I was like selling them for like $2 each or $5 if you wanted all of the games, because I was like, if I want it, surely other people want it as well. And then one of the teachers is like, you probably shouldn't do that. Like that's copyright infringement, illegal. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that. So I was like, if I can get it and download it, surely someone else will want it. But
what were you doing with your bucks, with your dollars you got as from those floppy disks you sold?
Oh man, back then it was probably like going to the shops and buying lollies, or going to like Video and Blockbuster and being like, get all the new
releases. Will never understand that, New Video Easy and all of that stuff.
Like your 7 days and your overnighters, you had to get and take them back the next day. Yeah,
bro, that was the jam though. That was on, man. Yeah. Or your parents are like, oh, you can only get one like overnighter, or you got to get like weeklies. Yeah, man, that was the go. Blockbuster dropped the ball on that, because didn't Netflix hit them up early days?
Yeah, exactly. They were like, yeah, let's do that. And they're like, nah, this is not going to work. And it's like,
this ain't going to work, mate. Oh my goodness. The next minute, like, that was one of the last ones too, in Morley, because I'm in Perth too, brother.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah. Morley was the one I used to go to. Yeah, that was like the last standing one, and then it was gone.
Yeah. I went a few times too, because my old man lived in Morley, brother, when I was growing up. But I lived in New Zealand, and I'd come over and visit, and would go down there when I was, growing up. We'd go down to the old Blockbuster there in Morley.
Yeah.
Oh, the days. So you've just always. When did you get your first computer? I guess when was that in the house?
So that would have been. It was when I was in primary school. Like, I'm gonna say maybe like 9 or 10 years old or something. Like, my dad was always into like technology and computers and stuff. When it was not like the first person where it's like they paid thousands of dollars. When it was like achievable to purchase one. He picked one up, and like I remember the only website I knew of, because he's like, oh, now we got the internet, and I was like, oh, the internet, cool. And I was like, the only website I knew of back then was because of my friends at school, and it was NBA.com. That was the only website I knew. And I was like, oh, I can look up the basketball players.
Yeah.
That was like the extent of what I knew about the internet. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go on to NBA.com and see what's going on. And then that was like the only website I knew of. But then, yeah, my dad was very big on us like learning to use computers, like mucking around with them, playing games on them, not necessarily to like keep us attached to them, but so that we knew how to work them, like, and we'd have the proper, like, the big tower, and like you have to, he'd show me, all right, cool, we need to put in, when floppy just went away, it's like, we've got to put in a CD-ROM drive. This is what a CD-ROM is.
Oh, true. Okay.
And like showed me how to like put it in, and then he's like, and now we have a CD-ROM burner so that we can burn stuff onto it and copy it and all that sort of stuff. So it was good times.
Yeah. So are you still an NBA fan today, or?
Well, like you probably see behind me, I've got like a little Michael Jordan quote there.
Yeah.
So, and I'm actually heading over to the Olympics. I'm going to the men's USA basketball at the Olympics. So I'll be seeing like I think it's like LeBron's playing. We've got Kevin Durant, Steph Curry
there with the boys. Yeah. I'm a big NBA fan too, brother, as well, big time. But got a couple of the boys meant to jump on here after the Olympics, but we'll see how that goes, if it comes to fruition or not. See how we go. But no, that's exciting, brother. MJ is MJ your favorite, greatest of all time, in your opinion, or who?
I mean, everyone will argue the fact that I think it's like when you grew up, the era. So like for me, it was the MJ era when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And then like, Space Jam came out and everyone was like, he's the greatest. Like, so I've actually got, it's unfortunately not here because I'm in like a different house now, but I've got like a signed MJ basketball, which is like my, one of my proudest possessions. So that's, I would argue, somewhat greatest of our era. And it's like, I think when you look at what he did, and just like, I think it's more his mindset and approach, because he is, I believe, what I think took NBA and basketball really pushed to globally. Like, so without him, would everyone else have the same reach, impact, etc.? I'm like, I think it's pretty hard to tell. Like, maybe when, more people came through, yes, that would happen. But I think he really was the one, because, secured the big, Nike deal that put things everywhere, secured like the, went to the Olympics and like did a lot of the redeeming and bringing the dream team in and stuff. So I think it's arguable, but I still put him up there as one of the greatest.
Yeah, when you talk about reach too, like without social media, like no social media at all existed, and everybody knew MJ. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's easy for people to know you now because of social media. Way easier than back then. But like the fact that like the impact he had on the world, sort of like Ali-esque. You know what I mean? Like that kind of impact when Ali was 20 years before that. You know what I mean? It's crazy. 100%. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think you're right, and because like the 1985, I think it was, finals was on tape delay, and it was like Magic and Bird. So like that wasn't, you know what I mean? That's like 7 years before the Dream Team. So he definitely put basketball on the map around the world, and just a lot of these players, like you said, these $400 million deals they be signing today. I don't think a lot of that's possible if that guy didn't do what he did at the time. Very pivotal. 100%. Yeah, definitely. What do you think about like do you think there could be a point where are you a sports fan of like AFL or NRL or any of the Australian sports? Or
everything. Like, again, behind me, that's a little where is it? Scorchers figurine there. So like cricket, AFL,
cricket,
like West Coast Eagles fan. We do a few like in-person events and stuff like that. So I've been like lucky to have like a couple of Eagles players come and talk for me. A couple of the Aussie cricketers come and talk for me. So Damian Martin from the Perth Wildcats and Australian Olympic basketball. Yeah, he came and spoke for me before some of my events. So it's like I like to interwove business and sport, because I think it's like, in business, if you want to be successful, you've got to play at a high game, you've got to compete. And it's like the same, and obviously high level sports, the same. It's like it's a competition. You've got to be on your A game, you've got to be playing to win all the time, and that's what you've got to do in business as well.
I see a lot of that on with a lot of these, I guess, entrepreneurs that are on the internet. Even someone that does a lot of speaking, done a lot of speaking events, like Patrick Bet David. He incorporated a lot of guns and sport in a lot of his content and a lot of his interviews. Kobe is probably one of the most famous interviews that he did. Which, when you speak about MJ, I think their mentalities were very similar, and win at all costs kind of thing. I don't know if Kobe made up rubbish about other players in his head just to get the dub, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you think makes a good ad? Or what do you not think right? What makes a good ad?
I mean, ultimately, it's like, and a lot of people get really kind of caught up and held up in like what they personally think. And I always say to people, it's like, it doesn't matter what I think, what you think. The only opinion that matters is that of the marketplace. Like when we put it out there, and if people respond to it, that's the only thing. And so it's like, as long as you can basically intrigue people enough to get them to take the next step, which again, like with an ad, a lot of people try and this is why I think people dislike ads on social media, because a lot of people are trying to sell their stuff in that ad. The job of the ad is not to sell something, it's to get them to take like the next logical step, especially when it comes to social media ads. It's like the only job of that ad is to get people to click on it and then go to the next page. The next page has got to do all the job of the selling. But I think where a lot of people get annoyed, and it's like people comment on my stuff all the time on TikTok or on Instagram and Facebook being like, oh, I hate ads on social media, like blah, 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 all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, look, the reason ads exist is so that social media is free. But also, most people, it's like, if you're someone who only consumes social media and you watch, like, you're only on Netflix or something like that, it's like, well, how do you like see products and services that you want? How do you know which ones are there? And I think that's where a good ad, it's like, it should make you feel like, oh, this is for me and I want it. Like for me, for example, I nearly did it this morning. I didn't buy it, but I nearly did. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, right? He's got his own tequila brand. I like tequila. Yeah, Terramana. So, and he's, I've been trying to get it for ages. One of my buddies was in the US and he lived in Bali. He went to the US. He bought me 2 bottles. He came back to Bali. I didn't go and visit him for like 2 months, and he drank it before I got there. I was like, he's like, me and the boys had a big week. Like, he's a surfer. He's like, we had some guys back and we drank it. And I was like, so the thing that you bought for me that I asked you to get for me, you drank before and I was like, this was like 3 weeks later when I arrived, and I was like, so I've never got to try it. And I was like, I wanted to drink one with him and then take one back to Australia. Yeah. Didn't get to do it. So that's now been released. It's on pre-sale at the moment. So this morning, my girlfriend saw it. She saw the ad for like one of the local bottle shops near us in, there's 2. There's one in North Freo and one in Como. They're doing a pre-sale at the moment of Dwayne Johnson's Terramana. And I was like, oh, and then I went to the website and I was like, and they've got all 3 of them. And I was like, add to cart. And it was like $9.80. Like it's 120, like $170. And I'm like, oh, take a breath. It's like, because I'm about to go to Europe in like 2 weeks. And I was like, I probably don't need to buy it, pre-order it now. I can get it when I come back. There's no rush. But that ad for me was spot on. It's like, and that was going to like.
They got you. Hey, they got you. Hey, brother.
Like, it's added to my car. It's still in my phone at the moment. So I might buy it later today. But it got me because I was like, cool, I want it. And it wasn't like overly salesy. It was literally a picture of The Rock holding his 2 bottles of tequila. Just like, pre-orders are now available. Didn't have all the pricing in there, didn't try and push it all. It's like, if you want to pre-order it and be one of the first to be able to secure your bottles, go to the website, check it out. On the website, it's got all the sales info. It's got the like normally $100 slashed down to $85, all the sales stuff. But the ad itself is pure. And that to me is what is a good ad. It's like, for the person that wants to consume or buy it, it's got enough information. It hooks you in. It's got enough information. It gives you the next step, which is, for them, it was like, go to the link in my bio. It was on Instagram. Go. Check it out. That's what they need to do. And I know for sure there will be many more people just like me. And that was only me getting 1 bottle of each. Some people will be like, what if it sells out? I'll get 2 bottles of each. And that's going to be, like $500. So for them, that's going to be a great ad because they didn't go and try and sell it all and talk about how they're slashing the prices. Good product. Information's there. tells you what to do next, which is another important piece. A lot of people forget, like they write this really good ad or they speak this really good ad, and they don't tell you what to do. And I always say, like, people.
Good point, cuz. Good point. I like it.
You've got to tell people what's next.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, that's why we have traffic lights, right? You need to know when to go, when to stop. When it goes orange, please go faster, right? No, you should slow down. Orange, go faster. That's the important piece, right? You got to, and like a lot of people miss that. That's the thing that I probably think makes ads not perform well, is people forget what's important.
Oh, do you see that a lot too? Like even with people that do a lot of them, like they forget that, like one of those gems or that most important piece.
They're like, everyone does, like because again, they feel like they're being like salesy or pushy if they're like telling people what to do and take the next step. And in my opinion, I'm like, when I say that, I'm like, that's like, you have to tell people what to do. Otherwise it's like they read it all and then they're like, oh, cool, great. But if you don't tell them, click below, subscribe, do this. Like, again, you watch anyone that does good content, at the end, it's like they don't hope that you turn on notifications and subscribe. They tell you to turn on notifications and subscribe. And that's why they get more subscribers. That's why they get more people like on listening to their content. Like it's got to be done.
I see Mr. Beast talking about it in a podcast, and they asked him, like, how do you get more people to subscribe? And he said, tell them. He's like, tell them, put your content out and then put it in there somewhere. Tell them what to do. Like you said, exactly. Because, you're more likely. And then he's like, look, if we've done content where we've not put that in, and we've done content where we have, and like, and it just blows it out the water. How much people do, click that button, because like you said, humans need instruction.
Unfortunately, but it has to happen. Yeah, it's got to be done.
Yeah, and I think like in this microwave popcorn and like, just quick era like they're in, like you say, like if you don't say it, they're just gonna scroll to the next thing. If they've stayed that long, they're probably off to the next one.
And like some people, even you see in their content now, they're like, wait till the end and I'll tell you about blah blah blah. But it's like, again, if you don't tell people to wait till the end, sometimes they'll just leave. And it's like, all right, cool, wait till the end. I want to see what happens.
So that is important too, the wait till the end thing. Like,
yeah, because it's like, and I see it on TikTok all the time. Like because I love like consuming stuff because I can pick up like trends, see what's happening, see what's working, and things like that. And you'll see, and it's like their hook to get people to stay is like, wait for the last one. They might be going through like 5 best places in Perth to go out or for dinner or whatever it might be, and they're like, wait till the last one. The last one is not any better than any of the rest. Wait for the last one, you watch the whole video. For them, it's like increases their view time, all that sort of stuff. And it's like, I don't get upset when I get to the end and the last one's not the best. But I know when I'm looking, I'm like, I know what they're doing, right? They're telling people, it's like, this is what you got to do. Wait for the last one. Or they would be like the last one, and it's just like a funny, like a laughing, there's some really good guys. I love their podcasting clips, which is Shits and Gigs.
Yeah, crack up. Yeah, the voice.
Yeah, like they're awesome stuff, but their stuff will always be in, and it's like, and like you see in the description, it's like the last one, and it's like a laughing emoji. So it's like, even if the first 1 or 2 don't get you, I'm like, well, I've got to wait for the last one. Yeah. Because it's apparently going to be
even funny. If it doesn't get you, you stayed anyway.
Exactly. They got me. Yeah, they got me.
Yeah. Good point. So even that, writing it in the description is important too.
Yeah, and it's just it's only little things, right? They're all just little things, but they all work because it's like, as humans, like we need that instruction. You give people feedback, you give them insight, you tell them what to do, and it's like we will do it. That's why I think it's important to remember, because it's very easy to push past and not do, because you don't want to feel like you're salesy or you're pushing or anything like that. But again, it's like, it's not like you're not going to have a detriment in doing it. So for me, it's like, what's the pro and the con? Like if there's no con, there can only hopefully be a pro. Worst case, nothing changes. Best case, you double the amount of subscribers. Awesome.
Yeah. I just need to do this quickly, brother. We need to put the last one in every single clip that we put up on social media. Okay, like wait for the last one. Write it in every description. I'll explain later. All right, much love. Yeah, sorry, brother.
No, no.
Because we post like 20 clips on 10 different platforms every day. And so it's like, so they're gonna be having something like that. I'll explain more later. But yeah, anyway, thank you for that, Jim, brother.
Yeah, pleasure, man. Happy to help.
Appreciate that, Gus. Let's go. Are you only strictly social media ads, or do you do some for the big screen as well?
No, we pretty much focus core on social media. So like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, like depending on where people's audience is, like we focus there. But like the principles are pretty much the same. And it's like, I think, again, there's some, like when you see ads, and I see ads on like TV, or you see it when you go to the movies, like for me, if some people are going just for like broad awareness, like Woolworths, Coles, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, like they're not trying to get us to do something and taste something. They're just trying to get like something stuck in our head that we remember. Okay. Versus, but then if you have the next one is like Jim's Mowing, and they're trying to get you to book them to mow the lawn, it's like, again, for me, I feel like they miss a lot of opportunity because they don't use like, because all of the stuff that we do is like what you would call like direct response advertising, where we want someone to take an action. There's like, you can do broad advertising, you can do awareness advertising, but for me, as someone who runs a small business, and I think anything under the size of like $20 million a year is like is a small business, in my opinion. We all need people to take an action and do something. Like we don't want them just to think about us and be like, oh, that's a cool thing. So it's like, if I ever was to like, we've got some ideas on like doing like different billboards and digital ads and stuff like that for events when we're doing them in Perth. But for me, it's like, it's got to have a call to action. So if I was doing something like any of those, it would probably involve a QR code and be like, scan this, would be like my call to action, so that someone can scan it, open it, they go to a website, they can leave their details or whatever it might be, they can register for more information. But I think the worst ones are like when you see, I mean, it used to be good, but when it's like that people will put their phone numbers or their websites, it's like, it's an extra thing someone's got to do. Like, not only do I have to go to like, I have to write down that phone number, or I have to try and remember it. And people have these like long website URLs. Like if it's hard to remember, again, I think it's difficult to do. Like for me, one of the things that I was testing last year was getting people to join our Facebook group. And so what I did is I bought the domain joinmygroup.com.au, because it's easy for me to remember, and I'm not going like, go to facebook.com/groups/ blah, 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 blah. Like, it's too hard. No one's got to remember, right? But if I have that, I can say, like, you know, anytime I'm like, hey, someone's like, oh, how do I get some more information? So I'm like, go to joinmygroup.com.au. They go there and it opens up the Facebook group and they can join it. And it's easy, rather than like, go to www.jimsmowing.com.au/Perth. And then you're like, oh man, like that's like, they probably spelled Jim wrong. You know? Like,
yeah, / what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, I've seen them do. I've seen some like Jim's Mowing example. I've seen them do that before too. Or like, yeah, I'm with you. Oh, start yawning like, by then. Hey.
Yeah, like no one's gonna remember. That's why I think it's like, it's gonna be short, memorable stuff. And it's like, that's where, again, if you're not just going for like broad awareness, if you want someone to do stuff about it, the simpler it is, the better. Like, and the same, it's like for you know, people going to YouTube channels and things like that. It's like, you need to make it easy. Just like get a redirect. You know what I mean? It's like, it should be a simple thing so that people can remember it. Because everyone goes like, but that's my URL, youtube.com/Mind the Mic podcast, like whatever it might be, is like the URL.
That's exactly it. Thank you for the plug.
Yeah.
No.
Like, but you know, I would maybe get the domain like mindthemic.tv or something like that, where it like just sends it straight to there, and then like it redirects to the YouTube. But that's easy for someone to remember. Is like, what's
let's send another message. Okay, there you go. But that makes sense. I know you don't do TV and that, but how, like, it's pretty dinosaur-y, eh? Like I heard a mate of mine say like they got like offered like some ad space on like TV, like, you know, network and shit. I was like, how much? What the like? What is this like? Like they're still trying to charge like crazy money. I'm like, man, who's watching that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Me personally,
well, even radio, like radio,
oh, yeah.
still, like they charge. I think it's like, I remember we had a client that was doing radio ads, and it was like for off peak. So peak
Off
times,
peak.
like radio is like when you're driving to work or school and when you're coming home. Like, you know, like 7 to 9 in the morning and like 3 to 6 in the afternoon. That's like peak. So this was for off peak. So not in any of those times. Could be the middle of the night, could be the middle of the day. You don't get a choice. And it was 20 spots across the month. And it was like $4,500.
20 spots only.
20 spots. And this was like not in drive time where everyone's going to be listening. It could be running at 11:30 at night.
But what station are we talking about? Are we talking like Australia-wide kind of station or like
it was localized? We're talking like one of the like a Nova or a 929, like the bigger stations.
Just for here.
Just for Perth. So, but again, you've got no targeting. Like, how do you know who's listening at 11:30 at night if they want to use your products and services? Which is again is why I like digital and social, because like you can target so much better, and you can show it to only people that want your products and services or that would potentially be able to be clients, rather than like to everyone. But I think there's a use case for it. I don't think that it's necessarily
$4,000 though, come on.
But it's like, but they've got to adjust. They've got to adjust.
$4,000. I don't know, cuz 20 spots, $4,000 off peak.
Yeah. Like if they could adjust it, and I think some of the digital stations are doing it, like the DAB stations, they're doing better pricing. But I think some of the traditional ones are still just like, that's not, like, to me, that's not worth it at all.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I didn't even think about radio. I was just thinking about damn TV, brother. Like, right, like even that, like who the hell watches those?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even have the like my cord connected to the wall anymore for the end. Like, I don't have the antenna. Like, can't even. Tell me to watch Channel 7. I don't even know how to do it. Like, it's I can't. Like, it's impossible.
Wow. Bro, what about Super Bowl ads? Because obviously, do you think in this day and age they're still worth it? Like the money that people pour into those, like, are they still?
Well, I mean, like, again, depends on the reach and stuff like that. So, like, I think it was Kanye West did an ad on the most recent Super Bowl, and I saw someone that because like a lot of the like I'm in different groups and there's a lot of like big advertisers and stuff, and I think they put his stats. So I think it was like he. I can't remember how much it cost. I think it might have cost 10 mil to run the ad and do the ad and record it and have it running at Super Bowl. And from memory, it could be slightly wrong on the numbers. I'm pretty sure he made 100 mil that day, like off of the sales. And look, I don't even think that the product was that good. I looked at it, I was like,
nah.
Like, I don't think again, that's just my opinion and style. I wouldn't be buying it and using it, but like, the people that did obviously loved it. So for him, like, he made 10 times his money on the ad. So it's like, is it worth it? Like, again, like maybe. Like if you're doing something like that where it's like, we're selling this, and I'm pretty sure they sold out it was like almost immediate sellout, and then they had to release more and purchase more and all sort of stuff. But it was crazy. So like if you're doing something like that, that's like, is putting $1 in and taking $10 out good for him? That's good. But everyone else that advertises there, I'm like, they're all going for awareness, right?
Yeah, I get you. So yeah, worked for him, but yeah. That I did see that Dunkin' Donuts ad. That looked pretty. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, so they got like a lot of awareness, right? Like, people talk about it, and like people.
How much did they sell off of the back of that ad? Like, how much actual? Yeah, I get what you mean. How much movement did they? How much did the pocket grow after that? Not much.
Yeah, and it's like, would you have done better if you'd like just like push that real hard on TikTok or or on Instagram Reels or whatever? Like, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Who do you like for you? Is there a GOAT in this whole space? We talked about GOAT before, Michael Jordan.
There's arguable, so like probably the person who understands the spaces the best. I don't think he's the best at direct response advertising, but understanding the spaces that you play in and to how to leverage them the best. Probably the likes of like Gary Vaynerchuk, right. Gary V. He's like, quite up there from that perspective. So I think understanding, using the platforms, how to use them, what content you put on there and how they work. Like, again, if you were someone who listened to Gary V back in the day, and you were on,
Mm.
you know, TikTok before it was TikTok. Like if you were on all the different platforms when he was like talking about them, because I think like, you know,
He gets early on those there. He's early on all this.
he's on there like before they were a thing. Like, because I'm pretty sure, what was it? TikTok was Musically, right?
Yeah. Oh, Musically. Yeah, no, they were two. TikTok was TikTok. Musically was Musically, but TikTok bought Musically and they merged and kept the TikTok name and got rid of Musically. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, if you were on those platforms and you were growing an audience on there at that time, it's like being like one of the first people to use Vine and things like that. It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
What happened to Vine? Is it still around or?
I don't know. It died off for a bit. I don't know, but like,
so Kim's not making ads for Vine then.
No, not on Vine. Like the Paul brothers, like that, you know, they launched off of that, and look at what they're doing now. And you know, if you can leverage attention again, if you were one of the first people early on TikTok and you were doing TikToks and you were growing, it's like the reach and platform and profile that you would have now versus then is much like you'd probably be sweet if you were doing content then and you were consistent and you were still doing it. Like you'd be up there.
Yeah, nah, I'm with you, brother. Even myself, because like I said, I was a streamer on TikTok and there, like, but I never posted content, brother. Like I should have kicked myself now. I'm like, I should have, like, you know, like like I was only like battling. That was all I was doing, battling and just playing music and just talking rubbish. Really, people liked it, you know. But because the algorithm's a bit different on TikTok compared to other live streaming platforms where you can get a lot of the traffic that are just, you know, scrolling across the most viral videos in the world. They can end up in your live stream and stuff like that. So it's fortunate in that way. But yeah, I dropped the ball on that and didn't post anything until this year.
And you see even people that have been like consistent with their podcast, like, again, like Shits and Gigs, going back to those guys, like they, one of the guys on there bought, I think it was James, bought it for Fuad, which he bought him a G-Wagon as his birthday present. And like, that's all because of how well their podcast has done, their sponsorships, they've done live events. Like you see that level of growth. And even like comedians like Matt Rife, who pretty much like blew up off of TikTok, sold out a world tour. It's like, you know, like whatever you're doing, if it's something that you can be
visual, well, from these blinker things, brother, you know,
it's crazy. Like you know, you go back 5-10 years and tell people that, like, no, they wouldn't believe you.
Yeah, that's crazy. And Gary V, as you were saying, was early and was early on a lot of that, understanding that that was the place and where the attention is and where to go.
Yeah, and then like using that to bounce. You know, that's why he's a best-selling author. He launched NFT project. Made like millions and millions and millions in all of those spaces. So all off of just getting attention. Like he just did, like, you know, again, you look where he started, he was doing like YouTube videos for wine. And that's where he got into it.
When YouTube started.
Yeah, and no one watched it. It was just him every week, and he just did it, kept doing it. And then eventually it's like, oh, okay, like, you know, people were coming in, like, saw his video, came in and purchased, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then that's where he, like, you know, cut his teeth on getting attention and then doing something with it.
But even that, brother, like, even if you don't get it, even if you don't end up getting attention, I think he got a lot of reps in on talking to a fucking camera. You know what I mean? And that's why, like, because when I talked to, like I said to you before, this is really like the 270th recording. But people are like, oh, like, you've obviously learned a lot through that process. Yeah, I did. But I've also streamed every day and talked to my phone and to people all over the world for years. For like 3 years, you know what I mean? And a lot of I don't know, do you know much about like TikTok battles and stuff like that?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So like on those things, like in battles, a lot of times, like, I would more just conversate with the person and ask them where they're from and talk about all that kind of stuff. That a lot of the times that was the way that I would battle. I just use it to like network with people all around the world. And it's been cool because heaps of them, some huge ass platforms, you know, millions of followers, heaps of them come on the podcast and start or are slated to, you know what I mean? And they also remember me asking them at the time years ago, if when I create a podcast, will you come on for a chat? And they're like, yeah, of course, you know what I mean? So yeah. I think that's a key too. Like, even if you don't get the attention straight away or whatever, you're sharpening your tools as a talker, as a communicator. Yeah.
And the thing is, as well, is people like, it's weird. Like if I put someone, because I do a lot of speaking, like in person as well, right? So I'll speak on stage, I'll speak at events, and if I put people in a room with 100 people speaking, they freak out. But if they get 100 views on a video, they're like, "Oh, it's a shit video."
Wait,
like,
that's right, brother. That's right. Let's go.
You know, so I'm like, and that's even 10. It's like, cool. Most people will be scared to get up on stage and speak in front of 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. But it's like, yeah, you get 100 views on a video, and it's like, even or a TikTok, you get that like, 200 view threshold. I'm like, that's still 200 people that have had some level of interest in what you do and looked at it and watched it. Like, and if you do that every day, that's 200 people every day that are looking at like, that's a big deal. Like,
Come on, brother. Let's go. That's it. But then if you just do it consistently for a whole year and onwards, like if you really believe in what you're doing, like eventually something's gonna come from it. You know what I mean? Even, like some people are gonna like it, and more people are. Yeah, I think but that's that whole age we're in too, brothers, because people are used to getting shit so quick, right? They believe like if they don't, and I feel you. Like public speaking is obviously the biggest fear for most people. People think it'd be like getting eaten by sharks and that, but how that's so rare. Like a lot of people don't go in the water just because of that. But public speaking is like the biggest fear for most human beings. Me, I'm a bit different. Like I went to 17 primary schools. I did a lot of multicultural stuff. So like I've like performed on big stages in front of. I've never given a damn like whether who's watching, brother. You know what I mean? But I understand. People do get like anxiety and all of that stuff, but yeah, I can't I can't relate, cuz you know what I mean? Like I've been performing since a child in front of a lot of people, like through that kind of stuff. And even I remember speaking on that, like we get to lives where there'd be like 10,000 people in the live, and one of my boys who does a podcast with me now too, because we do shows on here as well, different kinds of shows, not just interviews. But my bro Lex, when there was like 400 people in the live, he was like, "What?" He's like hiding away, like what the hell? He's like freaking out. I was like, bro, it's just the same if there was one person. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Hey, do your thing, be you, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And that's you say it's the age where people, it's like, oh, they get upset if they don't go viral, or they don't get 1,000 views or this or that. And it's like funny. It's like I get people like comment on my stuff all the time, and then they're like on my TikToks, because again, it's like I'm not consistent with them. I'll post my content up there, but like I'm not like a content producer. I'm like I run ads. Yeah. And one guy is like, "Oh, obviously your ads don't work because you've only got 100 views on this video." And I was like, "Okay, man, all right." And then I commented underneath, and I was like, "I actually went to the bank the other day, and they wouldn't let me deposit my likes. They wouldn't let me deposit my views." And then he got all upset because I was like, man, it's like, it doesn't really, like, how many views or things like that don't actually matter. It's like you're doing something for a purpose. And for me, it's like, if I put up an ad and I generate a lead or someone who wants to talk to me about my business, I could care less if they watched the video that I used at the time. I could care less if they liked or commented on it. But now it's like, if you don't have that, it's like, I know so many influencers who can't afford to do stuff. Like I know so many influencers who are like, like the only reason that they can stay at a nice hotel is if they get it gifted to them. Like they can't afford to pay for the room. Versus like, I'm not an influencer. I don't get anything for free. I don't get like, people send me stuff, and like I don't get like stays and accommodation. It's like I have to figure out ways to do that for myself and pay for it. But people think if you don't have like thousands of, if you got to, the other part as well is that so many people have fake followers and views and things like that, which is like messes with everything. And it's like, I know there's ages ago, these people tried to get me to sign up with them as a client, and so they sent me a whole bunch of bot followers on my profile. So on Instagram, like probably 10,000 at least of my followers are fake, but I can't get rid of them.
At least you're open about that too.
I did a video, and I was like, look, if you go and put my profile through any of the things, they'll tell you there's like 10,000 fake followers. And I was like, because someone to get me to sign up to their service sent me all of these followers. And I was like, I don't want them. I don't want, like, I could care less if I had 1,000 followers. I really don't mind. As long as the people that I'm speaking to like what I have to say. Like, that's the most important part for me. But now it's like every now and again, someone pops up, they're like, oh, but like, what about this? And it's like, you only get this much reach. And I was like, look, go and look at my feed. There's a video down there where I talk about people that have like spammed my stuff and like sent me fake followers. And it's like, it doesn't really matter. And I was like, I'm not going to go out. Like, there's people that have hundreds of thousands and millions of followers, and I'm like, all of them as well. There's probably a portion of them that are going to be fake. Like, but it doesn't, like, followers again. Like, I can't go to the bank and deposit followers either. Like, it really means nothing. But for some reason, people like to argue about it all the time, and it causes a whole big fuss. And I'm like, it means nothing. It's like, you've got to, like, do what's important to you and know why you're doing it, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's right. But there you go. At least you're open, because a lot of people would have that and be like, they wouldn't want to say that they have that. You know what I mean? Like you said, you can go to things that can tell you that anyway.
Yeah. And it's like, people say it all the time, and they're like, you could never be like, you're not a real, like, you couldn't be an influencer. I was like, I don't want to be I don't like want to. If I post about someone's stuff, like, I have clients, and I'll buy their stuff. I have a client that owns a winery down south of Western Australia, and they do like truffles and wine. And I buy truffles and wine from them. And sometimes it's like, to get a discount on the services from me, they'll give me, like, I'm like, cool, can I get, a couple bottles, and I'll, like, shave a bit off the price. And I post about it. I'm not doing it because they want me to do it, or because they pay me to do it, or they give it to me. It's like, I like the product and service. So I post
trade.
But if someone like asked me to do it, I'd be like, I don't even know how to do it. Like, I remember I got an invite to, like, an event, because it was a friend of mine. Again, not because I had any influence, but it was a friend. And I tried to do, like, an unboxing video. Like, it was like an invite, and I was, like, trying to do it with one hand, and it was like, camera was all shaky, and I just posted it anyway. And then everyone's like, you would be the worst influencer ever. And I was like, I know. I was like, I didn't even know how to do. I wasn't, like, didn't have it nicely set up, or, like, flat layout. I'm like on the kitchen table trying to, like, cut it open and film it, and, like, couldn't get the box open. And then they're like, you'd be terrible. And I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, I don't want to do it. Like, I would, like, hate the responsibility of having to do that.
You'd be the worst influencer. I like it. At least you know that, brother. At least you know that. Like, say, like,
stay in my lane. That's what I do. I know where to stay.
Yeah, stay in your lane. Where did the confidence, I guess, to talk in front of these audiences, did you always have it? Like, when you first ever did speaking events or whatever?
Like, I did a lot of speaking in the beginning, and I was at school. I got into the position of, like, student council, things like that. So I'd always have to get up on stage and, like, talk and same in primary school, high school, like, that kind of came through. And then when I started doing events for the guy who I was working for at the time, is now my brother-in-law. And we would do 3 intro events in a week, and then we would go and do 2-day, like, delivery events of, like, full events. So it's like, again, like you said, reps. It's like, I've done that so often, so many times. It's like, all right, cool. It's easy. I've done a digital event where over 50,000 people were online for it. I've done an in-person event for, like, 1,000 people and things like that. And it's like, it's just the repetition of going through and doing it time and time again. Now, if someone's like, oh, do you want to get up and talk about this? I have no qualms. Like, sometimes when when you want to deliver something, that's the only, like, nervousness I get. It's like, I want people to take this away from my presentation, or I want them to feel this or know this. That's the only nervousness I have, is like, are they going to get what I want them to get from it? Rather than, oh, it's X amount of people, or I have to speak in front of them. Like, I have no problems in doing that whatsoever. And it's just because I've done the repetition of it. It's like, cool, get up, speak about this, do this, at events. Like, had to MC. Like, sometimes I get asked from friends, like, MC, like, their wedding, or to do this or to do that.
Oh yeah, you've done some weddings.
Yeah, like, friends, I was going to be there anyway, and they're like, but it was like 500 people at their wedding, and it's like, some people, I'm like, oh, cool, this is easy. Like, I'm just, I've got a process to follow. I'm going to tell people what to do, and it's the experience of doing it. And, like, everything that I've done has always been, like, a lot of on the spot stuff. So when my buddy and I first launched a podcast, we did this ages ago, and we closed it down. It used to be called Confessions of a Business Owner. So we ran it for a year, and then we both, like, went off and did our own podcasts and things like that. And he would be, like, prepared. He'd be like, this is the topic we're going to talk about. This is the questions we're going to ask. And I'm like, cool. And we get there, and he's like, what questions have you prepared? I was like, no, just ask. Let's just chat. And he would be so annoyed because I would just, like, freestyle it and think on the spot. And he would be like, have his 17-point checklist that he's, like, got all the things he wants to ask and things like that. And it's like, just the difference in people that we are. But because of that, I'm just like, well, throw me a topic and I'll jam on it with someone at any point in time, because I'm so used to going through that process myself all the time. It's just becomes a bit of second nature, but it's only because I've done the reps of it. Like, definitely wasn't like that at the beginning. You can go back on my YouTube channel and see like some of the first videos I did. Like, that were terrible. Like, they were like a very, very average, but I kept doing them, kept going through the process.
Yeah. And how do you not get better? The more you do, the more reps you get in. You know what I mean? Like, if you work a muscle enough, like, it's gonna grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you
It has to get stronger.
Yeah, it has to, you know. Hey, you might get injured too, but like, you know, like fatigue happens, but you carry on. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, but for you, there's never been a time where, besides the wanting to deliver the product properly, like, there's never been a time where you're like, oh, I can't do this. You're just good to go.
Yeah, no, like as I said, like sometimes in the early days it was like a bit nerve-wracking, because a lot of times I would like share stages with other people. When it then became like my own events, the very first time I did my own, I was a bit nervous, but I was more nervous about how many people would come, not how many people am I speaking to, because I was like,
I don't
want to have two people in the room when I speak to them. It's like I want like
just hosted this my event, and there's I get you.
Yeah. So that's the only like nervousness sometimes is like, is having enough people there, especially like, because we used to do back in the day like free events. So it's like you could have no one show up, or if you had 100 people register, you could have 100 people show up. So you had to be prepared for both options. Like, you know, one time we did an event and then it was like pouring with rain, traffic jams, traffic accidents. And then I was like, no one's coming. And then it was like 15 minutes past when everyone was meant to be there. And I was like about to start packing up. And then it's like people started flowing in. I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, there was a huge traffic jam over here because of a crash. And I was like,
oh, damn.
Okay. I was ready. I was like, all right, gonna pack it in, go home, you know, cry.
Like, was there literally no one there?
No one there.
Oh, damn.
And I was like, oh, this is bad. Like, this is not good. No one's come. And I was like, you know, like, then you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? Like, did they not like this? Did they not? And then it's like, this one person walks in, he's like soaking wet. And I was like, you all right? And he's like, yeah, I'm here for the event. And he's like, yeah, there's a huge crash. And like, because it was like, you know, flash flooding, pouring with rain. I was like, oh. And then he's like, yeah, there's heaps of people in the parking lot. I'm like, oh, cool. So, all right, not bad.
Oh, cool. That's it, brother. Before we go, brother, I've got a couple of quick questions for you, if that's okay.
Definitely.
If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would you choose? Every day you got to eat this meal. A meal, not a food, because people will be like, food, like they think I'm just talking about a food. No, I mean a meal. What meal would you eat every day for the rest of your life?
It's a good question. I think like I often like to ask these things like when I'm hanging out with mates and stuff, and I'm like, if you could only do one. Of course. So for me, I think because it has versatility, like the meal would be a burger and sides, because like you can have a breakfast burger with hash browns, right, for breakfast.
Oh, see ya. Okay.
And then it's like, in dinner, it's like you've got burger and chips. And then it's like, if you want to be healthy, you can have a lettuce burger, right? So you've got like versatility. So, and I love,
you got me there.
I love burgers. That's my one. Yeah.
Burgers on, baby. But what would be if you had to pick a favorite burger, all-time burger?
And especially being in Perth, like I love smash burgers. So where they've got like the thin and it's like the crispier like patties and stuff. So short order burger. Short Order Burger Co. They do an epic smash burger, and I haven't had one that I think is better than them yet.
Do you do ads for them or no?
Oh man, if they wanted me,
oh, you don't? No, you don't. Oh, I thought you were like, because we're getting a good ad right here. You know, I was waiting for you to tell us where to click.
Yeah, so I used to live in West Perth, and there was one in the city, and so it was like that was like, you know, just after COVID, and like, you know, I was like, I'm not going to go out anywhere. I was like, cool. Friday would be burger day, and I'd be like red wine and a burger, and I'd be like, cool. I'd test all, like every Friday I'd be like, all right, going to go from this place, this place. Everyone that I can basically get on Uber Eats. So every week I'd test like a different spot, and I'd be like, short order every time for a smash burger. I was again, the closest that has come to it is meat and bun, but short order still reigns supreme for me.
Short order, yeah. And what burger is it from there?
So there's like a you'd probably see in my Uber Eats history if I went back far enough. But it was like a double. It was like a double. I think it was just the short order burger, which would like patties, lettuce, tomato, short order sauce, but like a double of that. And that was like, it was, again,
Cheese?
burgers
Or
these days.
no?
Yeah, beef. It was like stupid price, right? Like,
No, cheese.
they're like,
Or
oh,
no?
yeah, cheese as well. Yeah,
Oh, I was
cheese.
gonna
So
say,
like
come on, brother.
patty,
Where's the cheese,
smash
man?
burger patty with cheese on top,
Yeah.
two patties, and then it would be like a little bit of lettuce and tomato. But that was like, that
And
is
that
the
sauce.
yeah, and the short order sauce. Like that is the goat of burgers.
All right,
for
we're
me
gonna
that I've
say
had-
that. We're gonna say you're gonna have that every day, but we'll lock in the way you said it as well with the versatility. All right, superpowers. Besides the superpowers you already possess, if you could create one or just pick one that already is known in the superpower world, which one would you choose and why?
Flying, like Superman, because it's like just so easy to get places. Fly over there. Flying or teleportation would be the two.
Yeah, but which
So,
one?
like-
You got to choose one, brother. You got to choose
All
one.
right, choose one for now. Teleportation.
Teleportation. Yeah, just okay. Just time. Just better for time, eh? Better for your. For
So
time.
if I don't have to get in a plane and go, if I can click my fingers and I can be in Europe right now,
yeah,
I'm there. Like, take me there. Like, if I don't have to get on a plane and fly the hours, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I get to like, I do a lot of like point hacking, so I get to like get good flights and I get business class and stuff that I get free upgrades. But if I could click my fingers and be somewhere and not have to go to the airport, wait at the airport, jump on the plane, get jet lagged, just rock up. So again, if I do that, then I teleport and come home and sleep in my own bed. Happy days. I'll do that every day.
Happy days. Teleportation, baby. Any pieces of advice for anybody out there trying to get into the game like you are? You want to share?
I think like
anything?
What we said is like just get reps in. Like just do it. And again, it's like you will probably be bad at the beginning. You will probably get haters at some point. You'll get people comment like weird and terrible stuff on your stuff, and it's like it's going to be a byproduct of doing it. Like don't buy into it. Like just go, keep doing it, and it's like eventually you'll get better. Like yes, if you work one thing so often, it's like occasionally you will get an injury. Occasionally it will not work. Occasionally things will happen, but if you keep going, again, it can only improve.
I like it, brother. Visualization 10 years from now, what does life look like for Kim Barrett?
I'll probably have a few more gray hairs. I think I'm like kids are on the horizon. I think eventually, so it'll probably be a bit of stress. I think from that side of things. But for me, it won't be like my day to day won't be too different. I don't think it'll be helping people, helping business owners grow, helping them do what they want. But again, with the balance of like family time to be able to spend, relax, and again just pick and choose. And that's why I work for myself. Is like if I want to spend an hour doing a podcast with you, I can. If I want to spend an hour and go to the gym in the morning, I can. Like I can pick and choose what I get to do and when I get to do it. For me, it's just doing that. And it's like as you get older, it's kind of like the next 10 years is kind of like the last 10 years, but hopefully you have a bit more cash behind you. So it makes things a bit easier. And it's like cash never gets rid of your problems. You just get better at solving them, and then you get bigger problems. Like there's always problems to solve. And I think it's like we always think like, oh, if I do this, it'll be easier. And it's like, no, you just get a different problem. Like if someone has $1 million business and a $10 million business, the only difference is the size of their problems. Like one has to figure out how to pay a GST bill of 10 grand. One has to pay 100 grand. Same problem, just a different size.
Yeah. Well said, brother. Well, I just want to say, brother, time's the most valuable commodity we have as human beings. The one thing we can never get back. We can always get back money, things, but time spent is time lost, brother. So thank you for sharing over an hour of your time with me and anybody that listens to this for years to come. I plan on building the biggest podcast in the world. Crazy statement. But I've got the grind, I've got the hustle, brother. And, if a few things go my way and I stay consistent, I believe I'll get there, So, yeah, I hope to have you back on sometime. Maybe even catch up in the flesh since we live in the same town, baby. And maybe go check out one of those short order burgers or something.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Appreciate you for having me, man.
Thank you so much for watching this full episode of Mind the Mic. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to create these episodes. So to know that you've watched and listened to the entire thing means the world to myself and all our hosts. If you could, before you leave, please hit the subscribe button and share this episode out to as many people as possible. It would help us so much. Thank you again to everybody that's still here, still watching. Thank you for all your comments, all your shares, all the DMs. Appreciate you all. Make sure you follow us on every platform. Have an awesome morning. Have an awesome night, depending on where you are in the world. Mind the mic out.
Oi! Have you hit the link in bio yet?
Watch full episodes on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all streaming platforms.